Her name was Emily Carter. Born and raised in Montana, USA, she grew up surrounded by wilderness, mountains, and a deep respect for all living beings. Her childhood was shaped by stories her grandfather told, of lost hikers saved by wolves and wounded animals who returned years later just to be seen again. By the time she graduated with a degree in wildlife biology, she knew her path wasn't going to be inside a lab or an office. She wanted to be where the wild truly lived. After working briefly with a wildlife reserve in Colorado, she heard about the opportunity of a lifetime, a ranger position at the Lurian Wildlife Sanctuary in Kenya, near the fringes of the vast savanna. Known for its incredible lion population and threatened species, it was both a dream and a challenge. And Emily accepted it with a determined smile. From her very first day, life in Kenya was raw, unpredictable, and beautiful. The local team welcomed her, impressed by her knowledge and dedication. Days were long under the unforgiving African sun, and nights echoed with the distant howls and growls of creatures roaming freely. Emily loved every second. Each morning began before sunrise. With binoculars, GPS devices, and her field journal, she would set out in a dusty old Jeep to patrol territories, check camera traps, and track animal movement. She paid particular attention to a pride of lions she had grown emotionally attached to. One of the males, a huge lion with a scarred muzzle they called Balozi, had once approached her camp in silence, almost curiously. She had calmed the situation with slow movements and a peaceful tone, and from then on, there was something like an unspoken bond between them. She often sat in the grass just yards from the pride, watching through binoculars as the cubs played, lionesses rested, and Balozi scanned the horizon like a king. That pride had become more than a group of animals. Emily felt like she was witnessing a royal family, and somehow she was accepted as an outsider who posed no threat. But life as a ranger wasn't without danger. Poachers were always a threat. And on one particularly hot afternoon, something felt off. Her patrol partner had fallen sick, and she decided to go out alone, just a short round, or so she thought. She packed extra water, medical supplies, and her satellite radio. The sun beat down on her as the Jeep cut through dry trails and thorny bushes. She had only been out for an hour when she noticed strange tire tracks near a restricted zone. That area wasn't meant for vehicles. Her instincts flared. She followed the tracks, carefully navigating through shrubs until she saw it, a rusted pickup truck partly hidden under trees. Inside it were cages. Empty ones. Heart-pounding, Emily parked far off, grabbed her camera, and approached on foot. As she circled closer, two men emerged from the shadows. Before she could react, they rushed at her. She tried to run, but the dry ground slipped under her boots. She was tackled, her satellite radio snatched, her hands tied. They didn't speak much, just barked orders at each other, then dragged her deep into the trees. There, they tied her to the trunk of an acacia tree and left. The sun climbed higher. Sweat soaked her shirt. Flies buzzed around her face. Hours passed. Her arms ached from the tight ropes. Thirst clawed at her throat. She tried not to panic, but every rustle in the grass made her imagine the worst. Hyenas, snakes, or worse, poachers returning. Then, the world fell eerily silent. A low growl rumbled from behind. Emily turned her head, struggling against the rope. Her heart froze. A lioness. Then another. Then 4 more. A pride had surrounded her. Her breath caught in her throat as their eyes locked onto hers. She tried to remain still, whispering, "Easy. I mean no harm." Then, from behind them, Balozi appeared. He stepped forward slowly, towering and magnificent. The lioness parted for him. He came right up to Emily, sniffed the air, and looked her directly in the eyes. Then, incredibly, he moved to her hands. With one swift motion, he clawed at the rope, not hard enough to wound her, but just enough to weaken it. Another lioness moved closer, sniffing curiously. Emily couldn't believe it. They weren't attacking. They were helping. Minutes passed. Emily struggled gently as the ropes loosened. Finally, with one desperate pull, she broke free and fell to the ground, her wrists bruised but free. She scrambled up, looked at the lions, and softly said, "Thank you." Balozi gave a quiet growl, then turned and walked away, leading the pride back into the tall grasses. Emily staggered to her jeep. Her knees shook, her head spun, but she managed to start the engine. The radio was gone, but she drove as fast as she could toward base camp. Once she arrived, she alerted the sanctuary team and the local authorities. Within hours, rangers and police tracked down the pickup truck near a riverbank. Inside, they found tranquilizer darts and cages stained with blood. The poachers were arrested. Animals that had been taken earlier were recovered, injured, but alive. Emily became a hero overnight. But she didn't care for the attention. What she remembered most was the feeling of Balozi's breath near her face, and the silent understanding between a human and the wild. A few weeks later, she visited the spot again, this time with backup and safety measures. But what struck her the most was what she found beside that old acacia tree: lion tracks. Dozens of them. As if they had waited long after she had left. And then, something magical happened. One evening near sunset, as she stood near her favorite overlook, she saw Balozi again. This time, he was not alone. Two small cubs followed behind him, while a lioness rested under the tree nearby. He looked at her, not with fear or threat, but recognition. As if he was saying, "You are safe now. We remember." Emily stood there in silence, tears welling in her eyes. This was more than science, more than conservation. It was a bridge between two worlds, one of instinct, the other of emotion. She whispered, "I'll protect you, always." From that day, her mission became even deeper. Not just to guard and report, but to build trust between people and nature. She began conducting educational programs, documenting her experiences, and mentoring local youth to become future rangers. Her story spread far and wide, not as a tale of survival, but of connection. How a lion once saved a human, and how that human chose to dedicate her life to returning the favor. Some bonds, she realized, can never be explained. They're born from kindness, trust, and time. And though the wild can be cruel, it can also be astonishingly merciful. Thank you for watching this story from Animal Survival Stories. If you believe in the connection between humans and animals, and want more emotional rescues and powerful wildlife moments, then please hit that subscribe button and join us on this journey. Together, let's protect those who cannot speak for themselves.